Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Nonprofit Edge, Lead, Adapt, and Grow. We are back for episode 3. I'm Maureen Gage Edwards. I am your moderator today, and welcome back, Joe. How are you?
It's great to be here. It's good to see you too.
Well, I have a little bit of change of scenery today, so I'm in a different atmosphere at the beach. So everybody, it's a little bit different here, but our conversation is going to be different. We are definitely going to be getting into some of the best practices, the insights that we always love to talk about, strategies in the nonprofit industry. So if you are working in the nonprofit industry, you are in the right place for all the tips, tools, resources, everything that you need. And today's topic is amazing and definitely in your wheelhouse and your passion, Joe, as the iMIS expert. We're going to be talking about your tech stack. Is it costing you members? Modernizing iMIS and beyond. And I'm really excited about this because if anybody has information today about what they should be doing with technology and iMIS, it's you, Joe. So you want to dive into this?
I appreciate it. Yeah, let's get right in.
All right, so let's talk about iMIS legacy, and let's talk about what we're talking about. I guess we can say iMIS EMS, right?
Yep.
So a lot of the nonprofits are relying on the legacy version, or they're relying on more of the other association management systems out there.
A large percentage have homegrown systems too. Yeah.
So a little bit of the older versions. So tell me what the difference is when you see people using the older ones and not using really what you think is the undisputed industry leader with the updated one. What do you think is pretty much the difference, and why are they relying on one and not the other?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I mean, EMS is really the industry standard, for a lot of reasons. Really, the main one is extendability. And I've mentioned before, I was a career developer, and in the legacy systems, I was always needed to build a lot of things that the core product couldn't do. So now the EMS version incorporates that extendability into the product. So if you need to build a custom table, you add an iMIS panel. If you need to build a custom interface, you add an iMIS form. If you need to automate it, you use process automation, use IQA queries to enforce your business rules. You can literally build anything that you can imagine just with out-of-the-box iMIS tools. So that's really a big one. It's a game changer. Also, it's the gold standard for security. Folks that are self-hosted or using these legacy systems, your server, the operating system, it's no longer to be supported from Microsoft. What do you have to do? You have to do an expensive migration. You've got lots of customizations and things like that make it expensive. Also, I think people who are aware of the security threats, the security threats we face today are kind of exponential. So those security patches, you want to be in a system where those security patches are not only automatic, but they're immediate. It's those people that delay a few days or a week end up getting caught with these security vulnerabilities. So having automatic upgrades, automatic security, and then automation. You want to, a lot of people understand that, obviously automation makes things more efficient, gets rid of human error, but it also improves employee job satisfaction. If you've got highly productive employees, they don't want to be doing unproductive work. So, I think, iMIS EMS brings all these things and makes it available to clients.
So in your experience, when you look at the legacy version or the other AMS portfolios, do you think that the nonprofit may not realize that it could be costing them members if they're using the older version, that they may not even realize it? Can you talk about how that older version could be a detriment to them?
Well, I think, there's always a lot of unexpected costs when it comes to self-hosting or, trying to maintain a homegrown or a legacy system. And so with the software as a service model and outsourcing the hosting, all the costs are kind of are known up front. And so I think a lot of times it might seem like, okay, well, my monthly payment goes up a certain percentage, so it costs me more. But actually, if they sit down and do the math, it's going to cost them less in the long run, because they do have to apply their own security patches. They do they do have to constantly upgrade their system or migrate servers, or just the cost of hosting. There's a lot of just kind of costs that people don't necessarily recognize right up front. So I also think that I think another cost is that if you're kind of organizations that kind of do things the old way, you get a high quality employee, and the high quality employee sitting there doing manual processes all day. That's not. There's a cost there. You lose quality people. I think if you have a system where they have a vision, they have an idea, and they can go make it happen, and it's all automatic, then now they can move on to the next high value task instead of just doing this manual labor. So I think a lot of organizations may not realize that their manual tasks, not only is it open to human error and can cause problems, it's inefficient, it costs a lot of money for that labor. But then it's not going to attract the best people. The best people are going to move on where they're going to be more fulfilled with their job, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So how much does it cost to do an upgrade?
Well, that's a good question. I
mean, we're talking about costs right now, and you're talking about, the cost of labor, the cost that automation, if you're not automated, can, cost you. But what is the cost to go from a legacy platform to the latest, most efficient iMIS, EMS?
Okay, well, if you're not using legacy iMIS, then that would be a migration. So that's a system migration. But I think if a client is using legacy iMIS, the cost to upgrade, because you're not really changing systems, you're just doing your final migration to the EMS version. And so that EMS upgrade, we've done about 20 of them. They've all been successful, and the majority of them will cost less than $15,000. So it's not as expensive. I think if you're a legacy iMIS customer and your current reseller is quoting you, I think you should maybe check with us to get see what we can do it for. There are some cases where it's more than that, but I think for the majority of customers, they can upgrade for under $15,000.
So I have a question about, and I know we had a series of questions we were going to talk about, but I have one that just popped up. So if it isn't part of this, don't be upset, right?
I won't be upset. Go ahead.
Why do you think people do not do the updates? Why do you think they're still on legacy and have been for years, even though the latest iMIS is available and it has all of these amazing features, all of these amazing benefits? Why do you think people haven't updated, aren't on it yet?
Well, I think, because nonprofits have such complex business rules, I think you probably have a lot of legacy customers who have a lot of customizations in their old system. If you had an iMIS back in, say, 2010, you had lots of things you needed to do. Your only option back then was to do a customization. So they're probably thinking, great, we got to redo all these customizations. And reality is, with the extendability of EMS, you could just extend the product to do what you were doing in 2010 custom. So I think that's kind of maybe the perception is we have to rebuild everything. It's like, well, rebuilding it as part of the product is maybe a quarter or a third of the cost of rebuilding it. And then once it's built as part of the product, it's part of the product. It's part of the upgrade. There's no ongoing carrying cost for that customization because it's inherent to iMIS. I also think it's psychological. A lot of people kind of get used to what they have and what they're doing, and there's a fear of the unknown. So I think there's some of that plays into it. And I think some people look at the maybe the monthly the SaaS fees is a bit more than the fee they're paying now. But if they're not really factoring in the cost of self-hosting, the cost, you still have to pay for your own hosting. It's not as secure. You're not PCI compliant. So these are things, and you're also exposing yourself to risk. In the EMS version, you have $100,000 of insurance per transaction. That's how sure they are of the. So I mean, it's like all that liability. So the cost is not just like how much is it cost per month. It's the hosting. It's the exposure. It's the risk. So yeah.
Now, another question I have, because AI is so unbelievable. I mean, nobody can get away from what artificial intelligence is going to do in all aspects of business. With the legacy version, is it really compatible with everything that artificial intelligence is going to be integrating with? So is it going to be pretty much mandatory that people go from legacy to the most current iMIS?
Yeah, I mean, so AI is happening now. There are products already
Right.
being released that are available, and nobody's building AI that's compatible with legacy systems. So, if you don't upgrade, you're just going to kind of miss out on that whole revolution. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So really, there's not going to be really much of a choice, Joe, moving forward. It's either you do it now or you're going to end up having to do it eventually. So it's almost like let's come up with a plan. Let's come up with a roadmap here.
Yeah. I agree.
So how does John Consulting, fit for people out there? I mean, this is definitely your expertise. So how do you guide clients toward, these superior capabilities that iMIS can do to help them overcome any of the hurdles of getting this transition?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, high value consultants, to really always be a high value, we need to stick to very high value tasks like architecting new solutions, high level planning, design, things like that. At the end of the day, we know that for our clients to be happy, their staff have to learn how to do most of it themselves, right? So we want clients to be self-sufficient. So we do that. One of the things we do is, we kind of assess who we're working with, and more today, we're seeing more and more nonprofits are hiring, more technologically savvy employees. And so we often will do what we call client shadowing. So when we're doing something, we're doing a setup, and if we don't think it's going to slow us down, or the person's that, we'll do a recorded session and we'll let them shadow us so they can see what we do, so they can kind of learn for themselves. So basically teach them to fish, essentially. We focus on solution architect and prototype. If there's a requirement that requires, API development, we'll a lot of times do that. That takes years of expertise. But mostly we try to get clients to be as self-sufficient as possible. I've made recommendations recently where there's these high engaged individuals. I'm like, hey, give them systems admin access. Let's let them have access to the system where they can do things on their own, and we'll create a starting point IQA or business object, and they take it and they run with it. The other thing is, we most of our great ideas come from other clients. So we see clients doing things really well. We take note, and then we share that knowledge with other clients and say, basically to let them know, we don't necessarily say, okay, name the client or, we don't give away any kind of secrets, but just overall concepts and things like that. We share, if it's a good idea, we share it with other clients. I also have, I will put clients in touch with each other. So especially when you get, 3 or 4 really high performing client resources, I'm like, hey, I know someone at this other organization in a similar role as you, and maybe it'd be a good idea for you guys to connect. And then that's really worked out well because, they share ideas and if they've done some things, they'll share with each other. So it kind of, I think these are, some of the things that we do.
I think that's great. Now, I found like you kind of have some differentiators out there, Joe, that I like. Just the sheer fact that you would even connect clients to kind of maybe share experiences and almost help each other out and say, this is some like a best practice I have, and this is something that we had to work out. This was a kink that, we can maybe help you with. And, that's kind of a nice way to put it together, because hearing from somebody else other than the person, a consultant, but an actual user who's in the same industry to help them with it is kind of a novel idea. And I think that's great that you take that approach, that people can work it out with each other, and somebody who's been using it can, share some tips and tricks on how to use it. So I think that's really nice. So, all right. So I'm going to ask for a top 3 from you. You ready?
All right.
All right. So when we talk about some of the most important things out there that nonprofits want, which is always driving membership, and they want higher engagement, and they want, long-term, reducing, long-term costs compared to, looking at, things out there. How do you really look at, EMS being the top 3 ways that EMS can do that versus a legacy product, right? The legacy iMIS versus the EMS iMIS. What are the top 3 ways that it's able to do that versus the older one?
Yeah, I mean that's great. I mean, really, the top 3. I mean, we've touched on this, but eliminate hidden costs. If you're paying for costly upgrades, if you're paying for security patches, if you're paying for migrating your hosted server to another server, there's actually also too, if you're paying for more than one system to do the same thing, that's another sign that you've got more than one core system. The cost of maintaining 2 core systems is really high. So that's one. So make sure you're eliminating those hidden costs. And I don't know if people know this, but my understanding is the Salesforce model is you're paying 2 vendors. You're paying for Salesforce, and you're paying for a solution built on top of Salesforce. So then you got 2 systems you're paying for with 2 sets of upgrades, and that's another scenario where I think that's not, that there's going to be some hidden costs there too. I think also the rapidly responding to community demands. That's a little bit less tangible, but if you're able to ask for feedback, because most nonprofits are good about getting feedback. You ask for feedback, and then you can turn it around and deliver it quickly and correctly, the way people ask for it. That's impressive, and that's something that's hard to put a dollar sign on, but that's what all the leaders do that, and that's really what you call digital transformation. Digital transformation, to be able to transform concepts and ideas into reality, into concrete benefits, is something that you can do that with iMIS EMS. You can't do that with legacy iMIS nearly as much. I also think that focusing on community connections, which kind of speaks to the digital transformation, but offering micro certifications, allowing professionals in their field to write articles. They'll do it for free because now they're a published author and they have it on their profile. It shows up when people find it in the directory. Mentorships. We've talked about that before. Mentorships both engages the aging Gen X's and the Gen Z's. So they both get something out of it. And, it's a way for the older folks to give something back and the younger folks to be more engaged and network with people who can help their career. Career centers. We do a lot of career centers. Again, you can extend iMIS to do a career center. It can be a revenue generator and also a huge benefit for members and engage the younger constituents. You've got networking community platforms, obviously, creating that, engaged community where it's experts in the community can get information from each other and share ideas. That's something that they're not going to get anywhere else. And then I think making sure you do appropriate amount of surveys. You don't want to survey somebody every day or even every week, but you want to do enough surveys, at certain touch points. When people do engage, if they go to an event or if they do something like that, or just, storyboard out the touch points in their membership journey. Get that feedback from them. The feedback shows you care, and it also gives you direction on where to go, and allow people, create polls, let people vote. What's the more important? These are the 10 things we're thinking about. What are the 2 that you like the best? So you actually will get them, they feel like they're part of the solution. When you build it and it's like, hey, that's something I asked for. Look, it's great. So it really kind of gets that, it increases that engagement. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Great points. Great points. And, you can never get enough feedback. And when you say it shows you care,
yeah,
you're a nonprofit, remember? Let's talk about care.
Right.
Nothing says you care by saying, please let me know how we're doing because we're here to serve you. And if you just present it like, help us out so we can help you, it's the best way to get what you need. So great advice.
Thank you.
So we talked about clients a few minutes ago. Let's talk about a client success story for just a minute from somebody who was maybe in iMIS the legacy for a while and needed an upgrade to, the most current. How did that transition go? How did you go from supporting them from the older version to moving forward to the one that they really need to be on in order to have the greatest capability to move their business, their membership forward?
Okay, that's a great question. Our very first client, back when I was an independent consultant, the very first client who officially said, "I'm with Joe John," was the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, and they've been with John Consulting since 2012 when we started. And they were one of those, they always have a lot of great ideas. Ann Watkins at NALA, she has a lot of great ideas, a lot of initiatives. She's one of the people that, if you're a high performer, I'll put you in touch with Ann. She loves to network and share and help other organizations out too. But so they did a lot of things where I had to build customizations, because back then that's all you could do. And then when they upgraded to EMS, I was able to replace all the customizations with out of the box, just extending the iMIS product. And just to highlight quickly some of the things that they're doing in the latest version that you couldn't do in the old version was they started offering paralegal membership. So they added a whole new class of membership. And they basically, even though they have individual members, they tied the individual lawyers to a corporate record, and then that way they can add paralegals to their roster. They've rolled out over a dozen microsites. So now all their major chapters have their own website with their own directories and logins, and they can push all those inherent benefits of iMIS out to all their individual chapters. They've got a conference website. They've got a foundation website. And they've also got an intranet, so you can push out information to like the board or staff that aren't a full user in iMIS. That can all be pushed out into what we call a microsite. So iMIS, you can build unlimited. iMIS EMS supports unlimited websites. You could build 100,000 websites if you wanted to. The other thing that they've done is they've built their own Azure development operations system. And so what they have is they've got all of their integrations, all of their bridges with other systems are now hosted on their DevOps system through Azure, where they're paying Microsoft cost. So, cost for hosting, say, 3 or 4 bridges, plus doing all, it enhances the ability of what you could do with iMIS as well. You can do webhooks and other things, scheduled automated tasks and things like that. But it costs most nonprofits about $25 a month to have their own, to basically host everything themselves. So that's a big cost savings. They're not paying, annual fees, and they can tailor their bridges however they want because they have it on their own system. So that's a big one. They're using mid-year subscriptions. So now they sell all kinds of optional subscriptions, and those optional subscriptions can be sold year round. So whether people want to add a chapter, they want to upgrade their membership to show higher on the member directory, or they want to add a location, or they want to, sponsorships. They sell sponsorships, voluntary contributions. All that's done all year round. And then the last thing I want to mention for them, there's too much I could mention here, but the last thing is Click Tracker. So they're using Click Tracker, and Click Tracker is basically giving real-time feedback to their members, so their members know who's been clicking on their profile, and also sponsors will know. And that the premier sponsors, they have the option of sharing the actual email addresses and phone numbers and things like that. And the, tied into that too, on there, because they have a DevOps, if you go to the Find a Lawyer directory for NALA, there's a contact form that you don't have to be logged in. And then it has all the information the lawyers want when you ask them a question, and it has reCAPTCHA to make sure it's not a bot. And then when they submit that actually writes a record to the member and sends them an automatic email. So now there's a record of all the people who contacted them through their website that's there. And the lawyers don't have to expose their personal phone number, email to the public. So that's another example of why the DevOps is, you couldn't do that without a DevOps. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's amazing is you gave a list that I guarantee I don't think Legacy could have compared to everything that they can do.
Right.
Wow. All right. So do you want to predict the future now?
Okay. You're gonna give me an easy one this time, or predicting the future?
You're going to predict the future. And I have a little bit of a delay on my screen. Can't you tell? Kind of weird.
Yeah. That's okay. You look great.
It's all right.
Anyway.
Okay, so last question. As you look to the future, what trends do you see, nonprofits should watch for when we're looking at this technology, and what should they assess? We talked about this is the way to go, but as they move forward, what last advice would you sum up right now and tell them?
Sure. Well, AI is here. And if you're not taking advantage of AI now, or have a plan to in the next year or two, you're going to likely fall behind. Your competitors are using AI. So that's something that, people need to take to heart, and they need to make sure they're on a platform that will support AI. So that's an important message. I also think, the question that, nonprofits who are using a homegrown or legacy or something other than iMIS EMS is, if you have a digital transformation requirement, the community's screaming at you, hey, we need a career center. Hey, we need to offer, certifications, whatever. Are you in a position to do that quickly and effectively without hiring a developer? That's a question they should all ask themselves. I think if you're paying for security or upgrade patches, that's a sign that, it's time to make a change. And I think the other thing is if your core system doesn't do everything your core business needs, and you've got multiple redundant core systems, that should be a wake-up call. Take a look at iMIS EMS. It's a single source of truth. You could do all your core business in one place, and having all your systems in one place is a big saver in the end. So that's my perspective.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, that is great advice. Well, we're almost at our 30-minute mark. I think we always perfectly time it to 30 minutes. And I love all the information. There's so much information here that when we go back, literally the amount that you give is so generous, Joe, that I'm going to pick and choose just a few nuggets to share with everybody on our follow-up tomorrow. But I will tell you, if people are not watching, I will say this is your go-to resource. When we put this out there, the Nonprofit Edge is where all nonprofit leaders, people who are moving, shaking, making things happen, need to tune in, because the information like this is not coming from anywhere else. So just everything you've learned today about iMIS, whether it's the legacy products and what you need to do to move forward and get yourself modernized in order to stay competitive. Really, that's really what it is stay competitive and to make sure that your members are being served and your membership is really, driving the revenue you need to thrive. So, Joe, amazing,
Thank
amazing
you.
content. We're going to make sure that this content gets pushed out to as many people as we can so that we can serve you better. So
Yeah, and
if you would
I
like,
wanted to add that like anyone can reach out to me anytime. I'm always happy to give free consultations, and I'm not just I mean, my new role is sales, but I have 24 years experience working as a technician, a technical consultant, and I'm happy to share whatever knowledge I have, no charge to anyone who's interested. So.
yeah, and I wanted to alert everybody below that if you would like a complimentary consult, please just go and to our website, johnconsulting.net, and you can sit down with Joe and find out what is best for your organization. He is incredibly generous with his time, and he will give you the honest information, Joe. That's what I love about you. You will tell them exactly what they need and what is best. So we will be back again with episode 4 that will be coming up. And again, this is your go-to resource for tips, insights, strategies, tools, resources, and the latest information to help you lead, adapt, grow your nonprofit. This is the Nonprofit Edge. We are out, and we would love for you to follow us on social media, and all of our social media handles will be following us as we move out. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we
All
will
right.
be
Thanks,
back.
everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, everybody.